Hello, everybody. My name's Jimmy Smith of the Wine with Jimmy channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. This is going to be a short video on what's called understanding aromatic grape varieties for the WSET Level 3. In this, we'll actually talk about what an aromatic grape variety is, the major styles they expect you to know, and then how to answer questions around aromatics. This is exceedingly useful for those of you studying for your examination. I do put up a lot of free content, as you'll probably know, on YouTube, but we do have a huge more wealth of videos, flashcards, revision sessions, multiple choice questions, short written answer questions, all on my portal, which is the e-learning portal at winewithjimmy.com. Please go and have a look if you really want to gain access to heaps of information to help you really prepare for your level 3 examination, plus your level 1s, level 2s as well, and soon the diploma sections are coming. If you do have any comments, questions or concerns, please do pop them in the comments section of this video on YouTube. Please make sure you subscribe as well. But you can get in touch with us also on social media. You'll see at the bottom of every slide. So why have I put this section together? Well, this actually arises from an examination that was sat at my wine school, West London Wine School, and a student came out of that examination and was a little bit dismayed because they had a question on the grape variety Torrontés. And their question, one of the questions was exactly like this. Now, imagine this on this slide here. Instead of a Gewurztraminer, imagine it was an Argentinian Torrontés. And it says, you are a winemaker of this wine. Explain 4 methods that you would employ to protect the aromatic intensity of this wine. Now, the student didn't know how to answer that because they had not understood what an aromatic grape variety is. Because once you understand what an aromatic grape variety is and what are the aromatic grape varieties, so which ones they are, you can then all answer those, that question. This question here can be answered for Gewurztraminer, Sauvignon Blanc, Torrontés, Muscat, Riesling. They're the major ones. Now, the student thought that they had to know everything about each grape variety. That is very, very difficult. But once you can understand that they are aromatics, and the similar winemaking techniques, for instance, are employed across all of these. So you can make generalizations. So I'm not going to answer this question straight away. I'm just putting this up here to show you that's what we're aiming at. So we're going to learn about aromatic grape varieties, the main styles for your syllabus at level 3, and then winemaking techniques, which will help you answer this question, which we'll come back to at the end of this section. Okay, so let's have a look then at what an aromatic grape variety exactly is. So an aromatic grape variety or an aromatic wine, what is it? So these are grape varieties that give wines very pronounced aromas and flavors. So according to your systematic approach to tasting, you will put down pronounced on the intensities, both on the nose and the palate for these. So big flavors, very obvious flavors, often very fruit and floral intense, but not always, of course. Now, they are very aromatic when they are made into a wine. Those aromatics will actually normally diminish or decrease with age or oxidation. So things like Sauvignon Blanc get less aromatic. So do Gewurztraminer with age or oxidation. So it's often quite nice to, in fact, enjoy these wines quite young. Not always, but often that is the case. The aim as the winemaker then is to facilitate this aromatic character and to make sure that it gets from the vineyard through the winery to the bottle and to us really as an aromatic style, so it doesn't lose its intensity. So keeping it as fresh as possible. So we're going to talk through that. But before we do, let's just talk about 5 major aromatic grape varieties. In fact, really, out of those 5, we'll say 5 key aromatic grape varieties, but 2 of them major. So 2 out of the 5. First up, we have Sauvignon Blanc. So you'll see Next to where it says Sauvignon Blanc, I've put a little emergency sign because you need to understand this grape variety. It is a key grape variety listed in the chapter under white winemaking and white and sweet production in the early texts of your book. And along with Riesling, it is the two most important aromatic grape varieties that you need to have good understanding about. So aromatic Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc as a variety, as you'll know, has very high acidity, and it has pronounced aromas of things like lemons, lime, grapefruit, gooseberry, often things like passion fruit, maybe even more tropical notes, asparagus, grass, nettle, green pepper, minerality, stones, all the things you find in that picture, Sauvignon Blanc has an abundance of. And it is very, very common that they are described as pronounced aromas for Sauvignon Blanc. So very fruity, very floral. The elderflower note is quite common and also quite herbaceous Sauvignon Blanc. So very key aromatic grape variety. Riesling is the second major aromatic. So second major aromatic of the 5 that we'll learn. Riesling has lovely fruit-driven aromas, another high acidity variety, but lemon, lime, apple, peach, and things like petrol, floral, kerosene, oil, all these characteristics. It is a very important variety, but can be very aromatic as well. And like I mentioned, with very high acidities. Then we have some important, but not major varieties. We have Muscat or Muscat of Alexandria, and there's very many other types of Muscat as well. And Muscat is exceedingly aromatic. Peach, grape, things like blossom, things like acacia, things like perfume, very common on Muscat. So nice and aromatic grape variety, Muscat. Then there is the aromatic Gewurztraminer. Very pungent, pungently spicy, with things like cinnamon, things like ginger, but also things like rose, peach, lychee, and honeyed characteristics. So very, very pungent, probably one of the most pungent varieties that you'll know in your syllabus. And then Torrontés, which is from, well, it is mainly grown in Argentina today, certainly at higher altitudes like Cafayate, Salta, and the high parts of Mendoza. Very floral as well, more melon, peach, and pear, with things like floral and perfumed characteristics as well. So these 5 grape varieties are all considered aromatics, with Riesling and Sauvignon Blanc being the major 2 out of the 5. But questions could be asked on any of these in the WSET Level 3 examination. So we need to understand then that these grape varieties are aromatic and they need to be kept as aromatic as possible and then bottled so we get them at their maximum enjoyment. So really we're going to look at some very key winemaking options. So to give you a point of counter, have a think about Chardonnay, which is not an aromatic. That will often have a lot of winemaking influences, things like malolactic fermentation, lees contact, things like oak and often new oak, and always to give it a bit more character. It's the opposite with our aromatic grape varieties. So let's talk about this. Now, they are very aromatic, they're very intense. The wines, the grapes will need to be handled carefully with heavy selection. Any problem fruits or any problem detritus from the vineyard may actually impact. So anything, problems with fungal diseases and rots will impact the aromatic capability of the grape and therefore the wine. So handled carefully, often hand picking and heavy selection would be key at the harvest time just before going into the winery. Sulfur dioxide will be very much importantly used carefully and often monitored because sulfur dioxide is an antiseptic, so it protects the winemaking, cleans the winemaking equipment, but it's an antioxidant. So it actually protects the juice. It protects the wine. So it's commonly used. And for these varieties, which are delicate but aromatic, you need some sulfur dioxide commonly to do the protecting. So sulfur dioxide will be used, a key winemaking option for protecting aromatic grapes and wines. Grapes will come in and they will not be fervently crushed. They'll often be whole bunches that have been hand-picked, and then they are pressed together, like the champagne method, for instance. It is one of the most delicate ways of extracting the juice from the grapes. And in this instance, it's taken off its skins immediately. There is no splitting of the grapes before it's got to that point. So therefore, the juice is coming out in a very pure state. So whole bunch pressing is very, very important for many different styles of grapes, but also aromatics as well. Skin contact. So after that whole bunch pressing, skin contact is actually quite uncommon. That's to create a very clear juice. There are certain grape varieties that can have skin contact and even as aromatic as well, but this will often be very carefully monitored because it can impact the aromatic capability. So skin contact is often uncommon for making aromatic varieties. Just to give you a counterpoint though, things like Gewurztraminer have a little bit, and that's to actually maximize its flavor, which you'll find in the skin. So there can be some skin contact. Settling of the juice off the solids and any kind of remnants from that pressing or skin contact or no skin contact. And that's for a clear, pure juice as well. So there may be some juice settling. There may be employed tactics like centrifugal or centripetal forces as well to separate the solids from the juice. And of course, one that many of you would have put down, I think, is inert vessels. Utilizing stainless steel or things like epoxy resin lined cement vats, which really protect against oxidation. And certainly stainless steel can be quite easily temperature controlled as well to produce more fresh and aromatic compounds as well. The counterpoint of this, of course, is oak. And oak can be used, but in fact, that really promotes oxidation, and that may detract from the aromatic. Cool and long temperatures enable more primary, the floral and the fruitiness, so often around 12 to 15 degrees for fermentations of these varieties. And as mentioned, malolactic fermentation or conversion, that is converting the malic acid to lactic acid, may hide the aromatic compound. So this is generally avoided. Lees contact can be avoided, it often is, but with some varieties, like Riesling, for instance, you may find some lees contact for more texture, but it completely depends. So lees contact will tend to be avoided, but of course, oak maturation will generally be avoided as well because of the oxidation. There is an asterisk there, really, because in places like Alsace, for varieties like Riesling, and even Gewurztraminer and Pinot Gris, you will find that oak, very old oak, in these barrels called foudres, will be used. But generally, there is very little oxidation due to the tartrate deposits which line the inside of these very old casks. So it's generally new oak that is very much avoided. So we come back to our question. We now have learned what an aromatic grape variety is. We've learned about some of the key varieties, including the top two, which is Riesling and Sauvignon Blanc, and then what winemaking options are available to protect the aromatic. So let's go back to our question. As a winemaker of this label, which is an Alsace Gewurztraminer, explain 4 methods that you would employ to protect the aromatic intensity of your wine. So 4 methods, 8 marks. So please put enough down per each method, so enough to get 2 marks per method. Method 1, as we mentioned just a short while ago, sulfur dioxide will be used and carefully monitored as a preservative to ensure the wine is kept fresh. It may be used, sulfur dioxide, at an early stage to kill off wild yeast if you are using cultivated yeast. And cultivated yeast is often employed for aromatic varieties. You'll also find that sulfur dioxide is used, of course, in the wine itself as it goes to bottling to protect it for future markets. So as it goes out to future markets. So sulfur dioxide as a preservative. So make sure you put down sulfur dioxide and then something around it being a preservative. Method 2, the grapes will be gently pressed immediately in the winery with little or no skin contact, and that's to create a clean and pure juice. Okay, as talked about earlier. So this, you could say the grapes will be gently pressed, and in brackets, often whole bunch, immediately in the winery with little or no skin contact. I would put those down for that one. Method 3, the juice before fermentation will be clarified either by sedimentation, settling, or different variants of that, and kept clean so there are no solids with that, as we mentioned earlier. And then one that I'm sure you'll be very much in the know is, of course, using inert vessels such as stainless steel or epoxy resin lined cement vats, and that ensures what we call reductive winemaking. That is winemaking without the presence of oxygen, and that's what it says there, through anaerobic conditions and easy temperature control, and that will make a fresh wine and maintain the aromatic. So there we are about understanding aromatics. Really, that's come from a student feedback to me who didn't understand how to answer that. And I teach this very intensively in my classes at the schools, and I hope that you have understood this now. Now you can remember, you can go away and answer a question exactly the same about Riesling, Sauvignon Blanc, about Torrontés and Muscat. Just because it says a different grape variety, don't get scared. It's because it's an aromatic. That's what you need to know. So thank you so much. If you do have any comments, questions, or concerns, please do get in touch via the comments section in this YouTube video just below. Make sure you subscribe as well just below. You can also get in contact with the social media at the bottom of each slide. But otherwise, happy studying, and I'll see you very soon. Maybe online, but if you're in London, please come and see us for a class, a glass, or a bottle. Thank you so much.